Hi, hold on. Hi, everyone.
Hello.
Hi, hello.
Shalom.
Shalom. It's good to see you all.
Shalom.
Hope you had a lovely weekend and you got to rest and to watch some videos, some links that we sent you.
Yes, ma'am. Some.
Okay.
No, some.
Some of them. Good. And now let's see. All right. So today we will start another important information, which I will let Sarah share. Just a second. Here, Sarah. Here, please.
Wait a second. I'm going to share my screen. I don't know where it always goes away, so I can't find it. Can I refresh screen? Okay. There we go. Share screen. There we go. Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. So today we're going to talk. Hi. Today we're going to talk about building and developing the relationship with our client. Last time we talked about values, and we all know that first step is to build a relationship. So we'll go through what are the important things in doing that.
A kind reminder to share the full screen of your presentation.
Did you? Oh, yes. Thank you. I forgot. Thank you, Margareta, for reminding me. Okay, good. Before that, I hope you enjoyed your in-between time. This is a special week in between. All your previous life left behind, all your new life about to begin. So this is in-between time. And I hope you make good use of it, making friends, resting, building up energy that you're going to be needing. So first step in building and developing relationship with our patient. Okay. Creating good communication, coordination of expectations, building trust, creating the Caregiving Alliance, taking into account social and cultural components. So let's talk a little bit about each one of these steps. Creating good communication, that's, the best and most important part. So we tend to think that there's several ways to communicate, and we're going to talk about 4 different types of communication styles. Every person has a unique communication style, a way in which they interact and exchange information with others. There are 4 basic communication styles: passive, aggressive, passive-aggressive, and assertive. And we're going to talk about each one of these a little more. It's important to understand each communication style and why individuals use them. For example, the assertive communication style has been found to be the most effective because it incorporates the best aspects of all the other styles. When we break down these 4 styles, we'll better understand the characteristics of each one, standard phrases, and what makes them unique. So let's talk about the passive style of communication. Passive communicators often display a lack of eye contact, poor body posture, and inability to say no. Passive communicators also act in a way that states, "People never consider my feelings." And passive communicators are also easy to get along with, as they follow others and go with the flow. But, this one has a big but, when you're a passive communicator, you're not really expressing your feelings, your thoughts, your emotions, and your desires, and and things that you don't desire, obviously. Very easy to take advantage of passive communicators, because we really don't know what they're all about. And And I think that it's very difficult to take care of a person who's very passive on the one hand, because we really don't know, what his needs may be, what pleases him, what displeases him, because he's not communicating it to us. And if we as caregivers are passive communicators, that opens up a whole line of negative issues that can come our way. Because if we don't know how to say no, if we don't have direct eye contact with the people we're communicating with, we can very easily be misunderstood and taken advantage of. So I think that this is not a very positive way to communicate, as I'm sure you would agree. Aggressive communication, okay? The aggressive communication style is emphasized by speaking in a loud and demanding voice, maintaining intense eye contact, and dominating or controlling others by blaming, intimidating, criticizing, threatening, or attacking them, among other traits. So obviously this is not a good way to communicate. If we have a patient that communicates in this way, it makes it very difficult, of course, for us to be in front of him and to be able to contain anger and, and aggression and so on. And of course, if we as caregivers communicate in this way, this is obviously not a very comfortable way to deal with things, right? So this is also not a good way to communicate for anyone. And then there's the passive aggressive. Those are sometimes hard to communication style used in he or she built out and passive out behavior, because there's no correlation between what they're saying and how they're expressing it and so on. And also, if we respond in this way, it makes it difficult for the people who we are communicating with to understand what is really in our heart and in our mind, because we're not being direct and we're not being truthful. So the best way to communicate is to be assertive. Assertive communicators can express their own needs, desires, ideas, and feelings, while also considering the needs of others. One of the keys to assertive communication is using the I statements, such as I feel frustrated when you are late for a meeting, or I don't like having to explain this over and over again. It indicates ownership of feelings and behaviors without blaming the other person, okay? Blaming a person for how we interpret a situation is, turns into may turn into an aggressive situation, because the person may feel attacked and then he would, counterattack. But best way is to say what you feel, what you think, how you understand a situation without blaming, okay? So let's sum it up. Passive communicators are emotionally dishonest, indirect, inhibited, self-denying, blaming, and apologetic. Passive-aggressive communicators are emotionally dishonest, indirect, self-denying at first, self-enhancing at the expense of others later. Aggressive communicators are inappropriately honest, direct, expressive, attacking, blaming, controlling, self-enhancing at the expense of others. The green one, that's the one we want to achieve, is appropriately being honest, direct, self-enhancing, expressive, self-confident, involved. Across to them. In order to develop effective communication styles, here are a few tips to keep in mind. Take ownership. Use the I statement, as I've said before. Maintain eye contact if you feel comfortable with it. Voice your needs and desires confidently. And don't forget to smile. Smiles are in all different languages. I think that everyone in the world understands a smile, no matter where you are. And I think that looking someone in the eye and saying what you want to communicate to them in a confident, respectful manner is probably the best way to communicate with anyone at all times. How to deal with aggressive behavior or language. Here are some important tips on this YouTube presentation that you are invited to look at when you have some more free time. It's always difficult to deal with people that are aggressive, okay? And And yes, it is a skill to know how to manage people with that type of communication. We know that nonverbal communication is very important. So we'll talk a little bit about that. Along with the 4 communication styles, there is also the nonverbal communication. Nonverbal communication is any way in which people can transfer information between them without the use of words from the spoken, written, or sign language. Nonverbal communication is expressed in facial expressions, body language, tone of voice, physical gestures, standing, or touching. I think that we're all aware of body language, how it communicates. I think that if someone is angry and he doesn't say a word, we can see it on his body. He's tensed up, he's completely stiff or whatever. If we know a person, we know if he's angry. If we know someone and he's flirting, we know the body gestures, flipping your hair, smiling, moving your body one way or the other, right? It's all communicated to our body without saying one word. I think anyone that has ever had a pet also knows that, dogs and cats don't learn Filipino, Hebrew, English, Arabic. They just learn to understand what is asked of them and behave accordingly from the tone of our voice, the rhythm, the pitch, and also what they can smell from our endorphins and from our body and everything else. So nonverbal communication is probably our most important tool if we learn how to use it and how to read other people, especially our clients. Because basically, right now, I think most people in this group do not speak Hebrew, and I'm not even sure that Hebrew would be the main language that your client would would be comfortable to communicate in. Israel is a country of immigrants, and so very often people in their old age or in a certain state of disability regress to a language that was their home language, if it's Arabic or French or German or English or whatever, and it's easier for them to communicate through that language. So nonverbal communication is going to be very prominent in your communication with your client, especially in the beginning, right? Especially in the beginning. So you have to be very minded about the way we approach someone, in our tone, in our manner, in our, lots of noise from the background. I hope it's not bothering everyone. Not ambulance sirens, but people talking loudly outside my window. Okay. Tools for effective communication. Maybe I'll close the window. Okay. Active listening. Find out what is your patient's opinion, thoughts, emotions. Try not to make any assumptions. I think one of the main tools in our toolbox as caregivers is to be an active listener, to really listen. I think that is part of all the, one of the basic tools of all the caregiving and medical professions. If you're a good listener, if a doctor really listens to his patient, he will know more than, by checking all of the other, measurements that he does, blood pressure and fever and I don't know, whatever, temperature and things. Listening to a person is probably the key to understanding what is in his heart and mind, okay? And the more we know a person, the more we know how to listen to him. Reflection, in order to make sure you understand what your patient meant, try to reflect that you understood what he said by saying, I understand that, you said this and that, I see that, ask questions, okay? And try not to make judgments, okay? Very important. I also recommend to repeat what a person has said, and that gives him a feeling of that he's been heard by his own words. Empathy, try to empathize with your patient, even if you don't agree. The I message, when you talk about your opinion, is the main key. Okay, use the I word. This is what I think. This is what I feel. This is what I understand. Patience. Be very patient with your patient or client and his family. Very important to understand that his family is part of the group that you have to deal with. So you have to form relationships with key people in the family and all the people in the family. I highly recommend that you check out if there's a WhatsApp group or a Viber group that everyone in the family belongs to and join it. Give them an update on what's going on every so often, maybe not every day, but every few days, maybe every week. Try to be, part of the caregiving group that's involved in the care of your client and patient. And of course, to be relevant, right? And that way you can also expect perhaps to have help if you have issues that need their help in dealing with. Tolerance, even if you don't agree with your patient, try to respect his opinion. It's okay to disagree and to make conversation about it, but try to be tolerant, okay? I assume that most of your clients have not met Filipino people before. Everybody has prejudices. Jews are this way, Christians are that way, all the foreign workers are this way, all the Jewish people are this way, all people are this way. Everybody has, things they've heard, they thought maybe. But we want to be tolerant and to listen really truly and to know your client and, and not to make assumptions. And it's very important to be patient and tolerant, okay? Nonverbal communication. When talking to your patient, maintain eye contact. Try to speak at eye level, not above him, not below him. Relax your speech, calm your tone of speech. I think eye level is an important thing I want to say a few more things about. Being at eye level means, not to boss your boss and not to, to minimize your status in the home as well, on the one hand. But on a real way, talking to a person at eye level really means talking to him at eye level. I assume that most of your clients will be sitting or laying down. And it's very difficult to look up to someone if you need to speak to him or hear him, or look down at someone is also very uncomfortable. Pull up a chair and make yourself at eye level, okay? And like is recommended, with a calm, patient, eye contact tone and manner, communicate what it is you want to understand or what you want to say to your client. So I invite you to participate. What is your communication style? What, in your opinion, is the best communication style? What do you do if your patient has a communication style that is difficult, perhaps aggressive, and so on? Which concern do you have about your own patient's communication? And, in general, anything you'd like to say about, your experiences with people that were difficult, or your experiences with learning to communicate with someone who is not easily communicable. I invite you to share, with each other and with us. Anyone like to say something?
Hey, June Rain, we can't hear you, but I see that you're trying.
Wait. Still not working?
Oh, it's working now. We can hear you.
Okay. For me, I always use the win-win solution. I like the situation of my bipolar client. He insists that he wants to eat chocolate, but I know is not recommended by the doctor. But I use the win-win solution for a reward system. I implement I do things that I know that is best for my client, as well as it could also benefit later on in the situation if I gave him this kind of bathing, example bathing, and then if he answered yes, I will give him a reward, but just a little bit chocolate. And through that win-win solution, the work will be easier. I know it's not all the time that you need to use the win-win solution, because I know especially the chocolate is not recommended by the doctor. Later on, it'll be a big problem. But for me, most of the time, I do that kind of style of communicating my client, not only for the had a psychological problem, but also as well those patient or client that had like disabled using the wheelchair. That's it.
Okay, that's interesting. So you found a way to kind of manipulate the situation instead of, having conflict and resolving it with, you call it win-win. Okay, but trying to reward your client for cooperating with what is, decided that would be, good for him. Okay, that's an interesting way. That's good if it works. I think you told us last time that you had a client that was schizophrenic or
Bipolar.
something. Was that right?
Bipolar.
Psychiatric. Yeah, he was psychiatrically impaired. And another one that was also with dementia, right?
Yes.
Okay. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But giver's creativity comes in, and finding a way that will, any place that is, conflict, conflict is very difficult to resolve. But if you find a way that will, that makes him feel good and he cooperates, then okay, each person will respond differently to that kind of a situation. But if it works, it's good. Anyone else like to talk about communication difficulties and issues of language or manner?
I see that Rochelle.
Yes,
Hi,
ma'am.
Rochelle.
Hi,
Hello,
Rochelle.
ma'am. For me, ma'am, my communication is like this. Before, my previous employer had a dementia, and when she had a tantrum, what I did is I'm just holding her hands, look into into her eyes, and I hold her hand until she felt calm.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing that. Okay. So you found a different way to relax and to cause your client to be cooperative. You gave them, a warm feeling of holding their hands, containing their anger, not being afraid to be there with her during those difficult moments. Okay. And that helped her. She kind of took your energy in, your calm response kind of
Yes,
came
ma'am.
over her. Wow, that's really nice.
Yes.
Thank you for sharing.
Yes.
Very angry and they don't know how to calm themselves down. And then if you give them a big hug,
Yes.
they kind of
Yeah.
relax.
Yes, ma'am.
They relax and allow you to,
Yes, ma'am.
to let go of all of the negative
Yes.
feelings. Okay, thank you. That's a lovely way to do things as well.
Thank
Yeah.
you, ma'am.
You have to be creative, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Anyone else like to share a situation?
Mom, hi.
Hi, Gigi. What would you like to
Mom,
tell us?
for me, Mom, for me, because I experienced for Alzheimer's disease, dementia. So it's really hard to communicate, especially when she has a tantrums. So every day, I used to orient her for the things we have to do. So for example, I every day, every morning, I talk to her and saying, this is what we are going to do for this day. These are the going, and she always telling me, what is the date today? What is the date for today? She always telling me like that. So it's really it's really hard for me to communicate at the same time. But I never tired of telling her that this is the day. So maybe because for me, it's your patience on how to deal with the patient. And as you always said, wearing a smile will communicate the best way. Because I always smile at her and she said, okay, I know it already. Today is Monday. So she used to do like that. So the best way is to be always not aggressive, not anything. It's a unique communication from me and to my patient. So
Okay.
that's all.
So you already had a relationship, right? This is what we're talking about, building a relationship, getting to know how how to communicate in a real way with your patient, to pick up on their cues. You can always kind of see, oh, they're not going in some direction. You can see their feelings going somewhere, and you can know how to pull them back. That's very nice, very nice. You know, I don't know if anyone has had experience, but things like music and singing and dancing and smells, okay, not necessarily perfumes, but smells of spices and baked goods and things like that. You know, all of those things have a real impact on our brain and on our feelings. You know, sometimes you go somewhere and you smell something, makes you feel so nice, or you know, the opposite, or it's very you know, uncomfortable. So in a situation where we want to change or influence someone's mood, you know, to make them calm, part of getting to building a relationship with them is knowing what the things that help them to relax and to calm them down. Exactly. Sometimes it's holding them. Sometimes it might be a music, you know. I know for myself, I put on a record that I really like, automatically my mood changes depending on what is going on. And I'm sure you've all experienced that, how music changes our mood, and smells and touch, and all of those things are very important. Thank you. Anyone else would like to share something about communicating verbally or non-verbally, learning a new language? Some of you already learned Arabic in your past experiences, if I'm not mistaken. How was that? Is different sounds, different letters, different everything. Anyone want to say about that something? Okay. We'll continue for now. So here again is the YouTube attachment that you can check out, this address, and see about advice about communicating with elderly that you may find helpful if you haven't had experience, and so on. Next, we want to talk about coordination of expectations. I think this is also very important to know what is expected of us, what your client expects of you, what we, you know, and for him to know what we expect as well in return. So when starting a new job and starting a new relationship, each side has expectations, hopes, and concerns. Try to have an open conversation with your patient or his family about the needs and expectations. It's important that you also express your needs and expectations. Try to be honest and open and willing to learn. I think this is the main thing. If you smile and you show that you want to learn because you want to do your job well, I think every one of us wants to do a good job, no matter what our job description is. And if you are honest about that, I think that that is the first step in coordinating expectations. Along the way, there may be changes, okay, in the patient and your expectations, or his needs, your needs. It's okay as long as you speak about them. If you maintain good communication, you can always talk again openly about your patient, his expectations, your expectations, and to re-coordinate all of that. I want to tell you that, you know, in the beginning, it's very important to ask, always ask, you know, because of such a different cultural background that you come from and that your client is coming from. And so for them, it may seem, you know, obvious. How does she not know that? How does she not understand that? How does she not, you know, realize that? But okay, so we must ask, okay? And you're going to make mistakes, and it's okay to make mistakes. And then you fix it and you don't do it again. And it's very important to be honest. When you make a mistake, you come forward and you say, okay, I didn't know this happened, that happened. I, you know, obviously won't do it again, but you have to come forward and be straightforward with that. Very important, okay? And you must be patient with yourself, not just with the situation and with your client. You must be patient with yourself, very important, okay? And as time goes by, I'm assuming, hoping that you will have friends, you'll have, you know, people that you'll be responding to, relating to. If you want to have company, ask when would be appropriate. You know, if you want to talk to people on the phone or use the internet or whatever, you must ask and coordinate everything, okay, in terms of your timeline. I think you should make a schedule of what their expectations of the things that you need to do during the day. And when is it your time, your private time to do your own things? You know, it's only natural that a person has some private time for himself during the day, maybe a half hour here, a half hour there, but even so, it should be coordinated. Okay. I also want to say that you must be specific about things that you in the kitchen. Okay, I stress that because of the Jewish dietary laws. Each family relates to that very differently, and so don't be offended, don't be hurt if they ask you not to put your food in their kitchen, or not to put, you know, not to touch utensils or pots or pans or whatever, until that there's a real trust relationship. Okay, and they know that you understand what the, you know, what the routine is in this specific home, then they will probably not have an issue with you cooking and preparing and so on, your things, their things. But it does take time, okay, for you to learn it and for them to trust you with it, okay? So not to be offended. Usually kitchens are very sensitive areas for people in general, okay? Okay. Building trust, the next step. Trust is the basis for any relationship, and especially the relationship with your patient. So what goes into trust? Reliability, sincerity, integrity, consistency, commitment, and competence. I want to take a 5-minute break now, and we will come back and talk more about this. And then I again invite you to share with us your experiences, thoughts, questions about any of the things that are brought up in this presentation or in general. So just a 5-minute break before we continue, okay? Hi, everyone.
Hi, Sam.
Hi,
Are we
ma'am.
back?
Ma'am.
Okay. So we can continue and yeah, talking about building trust. So as I said, trust is the basis for any relationship, right? If you don't have trust with anyone, right? Really can't have a real relationship with them, especially in work, right? Especially with our client that we're living with. So what is trust? Trust is one's willingness to be vulnerable to another based on confidence that the other has goodwill, trustworthy component of, and honest and openness, right? I mean, who do we trust? We trust people that are open to us. We trust people that we think have our best interest at heart. We trust people that we think will not do us any harm, right? So this is who we trust. It's a shared belief that you can trust someone to achieve a common goal, okay? If we all know what we want, working at it, that's where we want to go. At the base of trust, there are many elements: respect for others, sincerity, integrity, openness, reliability, consistency, and commitment. I think this is a long list, but it's all necessary if we're going to trust someone, right? Willingness, more ingredients of trust is willingness to be vulnerable, a sense of security that your trust recipient will meet our expectations, goodwill, belief that the recipient of the trust will protect the well-being of the trust giver. Reliability, okay, is the connection between predictability and goodwill, honesty, right? Heart and mind, you do what you say you're going to do, being open, being transparent, not hiding things, and reciprocity. I think all of those things are very important if we're going to trust someone, especially you have to understand that you're a stranger. You're coming into a person's home, his safe place, the place where he feels, he's in control. And having someone walking around, touching things, moving things can be very disheartening, can be very, can be very stressful. Very often it can cause anxiety, having someone strange, touching things, maybe moving things. Must be very mindful in the beginning to be respectful, not only of the way things are done, but and where they're put, to put them back exactly in the same place. And so that people don't become, offended or anxious about, oh, where did it go? Where did it go? She took it, all of those things. Be very mindful to put things exactly where they were, and to take note in the sequence of things that are done, okay? If a person does something in a certain way, the way he washes himself, braids, clothes, put things away in the kitchen, try to pick up on the way they do things, okay? That provokes trust. When someone does things the way, even if you don't think it's the easiest way, it's the fastest way, it's the best way, so many things in a home that probably an old disabled person does in a certain way, and that's how he thinks it's the right way. You do the same thing, okay? Try not to change things in the routine and the pace and the atmosphere, at least in the beginning, okay? When you trust someone, oh, they'll do it their way, I don't care. But in the beginning, they're not doing it the right way. The right way is my way, right? So you must be very mindful that you're coming into a home and you don't want them to feel that they're being invaded, okay? You're there to kind of easily and slowly go into their rhythm and pace of things, okay? Be very mindful of that. Yeah, basically, treat the other as we like to be treated everywhere. I don't think it changes anywhere. We want to be treated with respect, and then we'll be respected, and so we respect others as well, okay? How to build trust and a trusting relationship with our patient. Effective tools. Remember that your patient has opened his most private space to you, his home. And like you, he has concerns, expectations, hopes from this relationship, okay? So it's very important to talk about things, where he wants to sit, perhaps in the evening in front of the television, does he think that you can sit there as well? Does he expect you to maybe go in your room and only come out if they're asking you? Can you sit? All of these little things kind of make a difference in the beginning, okay? Because there's a stranger walking around in their home. So be mindful, to be respectful, to ask as many questions as possible. Maybe they expect you not to eat at the same time that they're eating because you're eating different things. Maybe they expect you to eat with them. All those things, need to be discussed in a relaxed, open, and respectful manner, okay? Give trust yourself, trust the patient, and trust the process of getting to know each other, okay? If you trust the others, they will trust you. Always tell the truth. If something bothers you, don't keep it inside. Try to talk about it. And this is a story that I kind of tell because a friend of mine came and told me that they had a caregiver for their mother for a year and a half, and they thought everything was going wonderful. She would come to Shabbat dinner with them and ask if everything is okay, and always she said yes, yes, yes. And then after 18 months, a year and a half, she said she doesn't want to stay anymore. Why? Well, she doesn't have a closet to put her clothes. She doesn't have a shelf to put her food. She doesn't have a heating unit, a cooling unit in her room. And the mother is disrespectful to her. So the family asked, why didn't you say something before? It's been 18 months. We ask you and you always say everything is good. No answer. Don't wait for 18 months if something is not right, okay? If you need something, perfectly okay to, if your direct client doesn't come forward with what you need in the right way, try to engage someone else in the family, okay? And so hopefully things would be resolved and and you would maintain a good relationship and not, let it build up till you say you don't want to be there anymore. Creating the Caregiving Alliance is the next step. The Caregiving Alliance consists of 3 essential components: agreeing on the caregiving tasks, what it is you need to do, agreeing on the goals of the care, right? What is best for your client, and developing the personal relationship consisting of mutual positive feelings, trust, and good communication. I think this is the key to our, to all of our work. The Caregiving Alliance is usually determined at the beginning of a relationship between the caregiver and the patient and constitutes a primary infrastructure for the relationship between them. Okay, so right from the beginning, you have to, you have to come forward and ask questions and, allow your client to understand that he will be teaching you, you will be learning, and that's how you're going to fit into his rhythm of life, right? His style. Such a contract gives the stability to a caregiving relationship and a sense of mutual responsibility and partnership. To account social and cultural components, okay? This is a big issue, okay? Coming from different worlds and trying to fit in. It's like an arranged marriage. You don't know a lot about the person who you're going to be living with or taking care of. You know a little bit about his medical issues, perhaps, but that's just the surface, right? It takes a while to learn who you're living with, what he needs, and how you can best help him. Part of the caregiving allowance is taking into account consideration social and cultural components. You and your patient come from different cultures and you have different language, lifestyle, customs, preferences, and beliefs. And of course, there's also the age difference, okay? I assume that most of you will be taking care of elderly people. And young people have a different energy, a different pace, a different attitude towards things. So to add all of that to the person that you're going to be living with. It's okay for you to express your preferences and to keep your customs, but it's better to talk about it with your patient and reach agreement. Try to take into account culture, values, customs, traditions of your patient. This includes food preferences, daily routine, and habits. Very important to know what a person's habits are. And habits are very calming. People like to, everybody has a routine. Everybody knows where they sit at the table. It's always the same place. It makes them feel good. Everybody has a routine about whatever it is that, that they've gone through life, the way they bathe, the way they eat, when they eat. But even though you know the routine, you must always ask them if this is what they want again. And usually they'll say yes. And if not, not. But, getting to know the routine and sticking with it makes a person calm and confident and trust you to be there for them. So again, I invite you to talk a little bit. What do you think about all of these things about building relationships? What do you think is the most complex step? What do you think is the most easy step? And do you have any concerns about, your clients or how you're going to relate to them, fit into their life? Anyone like to mention something, respond in any way? Ask questions?
I think there's no easy step, but I know that there'll be a learning process.
Okay, that's nice. You're right. It's not going to be easy, but a learning process is very true, right? You're on a learning curve, learn about everything about your client, where he's from, what his history was, what was his occupation, what was he good at, what were his disappointments, who are the people that he loves, who are the people that he lost, all of those things, his history, where he comes from. You can do it very, generally through ask to see family albums, look at the pictures, see who the people are, ask about them. Hopefully they can tell you or someone else in the family. Ask, walk around the house, you see pictures, photographs or paintings or knickknacks on the shelves or whatever. Ask where they bought it, what was the situation. Ask them to talk, to talk about themselves.
And I think the most complex step would be building trust. Even if you know the person for a couple of years, still there will be an attitude and a character will come out when will be if in the case that there will be a circumstances that happens in your way. Especially the one that you're talking, ma'am, about the 18 months. Possible that that employee doesn't, after 18 months, she can not complain, but saying all those things, maybe because of anticipation. What will be the reaction of the employer if she will be so honest of everything? We don't know everything what is inside their mind. So maybe because of anticipation, that's why after the 18 months she left without telling all those things that she needs.
We don't know. I'm just telling a story because there's so much we don't know. But the point is that if you talk about things, then after 18 months you decide to leave, it's because you tried to, to make things better by asking, by telling, by, involving the family, by whatever. But not asking and not responding to what is not good for you is not a good, it's not going to solve the situation. That's obvious. So that's, the major point. If you need something, if you like, to dance, to write a blog, to write a journal, to listen to music, you must do things that also charge your energy. It's a very difficult job. Everybody needs, if you pray, if you meditate, whatever it is that you need to charge your energy is very important, obviously. And if it makes your, client or his family uncomfortable, perhaps to see you pray, maybe you have a cross. Some Jewish people feel uncomfortable having those things, in their presence because of prejudices or other things. You must be sensitive to it and pick up on it, okay, and talk about it, okay? This is a new experience for them to have someone that's not of their religion, of their culture, living in their home. So you must be minded of the tension, not of you personally, just the tension that it may provoke by your presence that they've had coming into a different culture, family, a different country, perhaps. Or what
like a concern. Yeah, sorry if I'm the one who always says. Just like the third one, that you have any concern about one of the steps. I think building trust again, because one way or another will be the employer will take advantage on how you build the relationship, or the employee, because I've experienced that before in my 6 years of caregiving in Cyprus. If you're too obedient and too open about your feelings, about your work, about the concern of the environment of your work, sometimes, I know not all of the employers, but some of it will take advantage on you. Okay. Maybe because of overlapping your time, overlapping your contract, and most of it sometimes in paying the exact amount of your salary. But I know it's a normal thing with this kind of setting of this kind of work.
Well, I will tell you that June, if you've had this kind of an experience before, that you felt you were being taken advantage of, I think that I can understand your concern. You don't want to be in that situation again. I can't promise you that it won't happen, but you're not alone, and you are, you are part of this group here. There is the call center. If you have any questions, any concerns about your pay, your hours, all of your rights, you are completely protected, by the government. And yeah, if you have issues, you should ask for help and be guided by the call center, and perhaps other people in this group that could assist you. Okay, nobody likes to be taken advantage of, absolutely.
And we do hope that, I know that along our journey in this caregiving in Israel, I know there will not be a smooth journey. I know there are times that some of us will have encounter difficulties in the future. I hope it will not happen, but I hope that the labor will always listen to the employees' concern, not only in the fact that that raising our concern as a foreign, as a third country people, would always sided on the maybe in the Israeli alone, or I hope I don't.
I think you're, I understand what you're saying. And yeah, listen, foreign workers are not on the top of the totem pole usually. So I can understand your concern.
Everywhere,
Everywhere
not
in the
only
world.
Israel.
You, you know, I can understand your anxiety. But Margareta, maybe you want to say some more.
Yeah,
to calm-
I say some one thing that see me together with people. We have a practice of providing this service, the call center service, to different groups of migrants during several years. And you know, it's not black or white. And it's a process that we're also doing with the all, you know, services inspectors within this system. I can tell you that everything related to caregivers now is more new to us, but we also treat it, and when I say we, I'm talking about the whole system. We're treating it with much more attention for this moment, and also very careful. And I can tell you from experience of you know, not only participating but from watching a side of calls, requests, and complaints that being submitted, the things being taken, being checked and taken care of very carefully, because you speak now from the point of view, and um, it's very, you know, honest, and we understand why you're speaking from this point. But we as a system, we need to, you know, to take a look at the whole, you know, of the whole relationship, and different, you know, people in this relationship. And of course, again, we provide assistance. It's call center for migrant workers. So we assist you, but whenever we, you know, try to resolve matters, it doesn't necessarily mean that the system will go and force something against employer. Maybe the assistance will be to, you know, to make sure that the agency that you registered and both you and your employer receive services from it will assist with a social worker for you to settle some issues, to provide some information to your employer who might not necessarily know the details of employment. You know, we're not talking about big companies, we're not talking even about small companies, we're talking about private families. You know, for example, I wasn't in this situation, but in case I was, and you know, I work in the field, so not a good comparison, but not a good example. But someone else who is not, you know, never dealt with
Ang gumamit siya ng body language niya. Kumbaga,
with
yung
employment.
aggressive siya agad aggressive siya.
Kiki, your microphone is open. Okay.
Ay, sorry.
So my answer on one hand, that you should be sure that, you know, as Sarah mentioned, there is a very serious resources being put to the system that will assist and will provide you, you know, information services, consultation services, etc., whatever you need. My addition to this answer is to say, you know, that things are complicated, and we try to assist the best way possible to you within this system of relationship between you, your employer, and sometimes your agency. I hope
And for
clear.
that we are thankful. Thank you so much.
It'll be okay. Don't worry, June.
Well,
You
in case
seem
of
very
June,
competent.
honestly, you know, in case of June specifically, I'm less concerned. Okay, it seems that you know to assert yourself and to, you know, to request for advice, information, help, and, you know, wish all the people who feel, you know, in such situation as confident enough as you are. But, you know, again, situations are different, so I hope you won't lose it. I know you also assist to direct your friends who are, you know, feel less confident to use this system and resources that was created for them.
Thank you,
Okay,
ma'am.
I also want to add one thing, June. You know, trust is the basis, as we're, you know, I've mentioned before, this is what we're talking about, trust. So it's your client's best interest to build trust in you as well. So, you know, it's not that just that we want that you want your client to trust you, but they also want you to trust them. Because if you don't feel that you can trust them, you know, if you feel in any way being taken advantage of or misused, you know, and so on, then the whole relationship is not, you know, is not going in the right direction. So it's a win-win or a lose-lose situation.
Yes.
So it must be resolved if anyone has issues. Okay. And there
Thank you,
are
Ms. Sarah.
addresses for that. Okay. I'd like to hear if someone else has any thoughts or, you know, questions or things they're thinking about. Perhaps we can assist.
Ma'am, yes, ma'am. For me, ma'am, I go with the trust. But the most easy way for me is to become honest. Yes, because as we have known, honesty is the best policy. So if you are honest to one person, you can easily build trust to one another. You can easily interact. Not to the extent that if you are honest, you want to tell them everything, you to be aggressive. To being honest is not to hurt someone's feeling. So if you just want to tell them what do you want, what do you have to know about them, getting to know each other in a way that you can say you can in a way that you will not hurt and respect each other also.
Okay. I think you're absolutely right. And I think that the way that we present ourselves and our vulnerability, you know, our soft spots, the places that we are, you know, easily hurt is also, you know, we talked about this. This is also a way of building trust because, you know, just like we don't want to be hurt, our clients don't want to be hurt. So when you're open and honest and you know, you relate situations, stories about, you know, places that you have sensitivities, that also allows, you know, a client to trust us. And when we know about their private things and so on, that also allows to build trust. So like you said, being honest and open is, you know, opens the doors. And of course, this is the place to talk about confidentiality, okay? Confidentiality is also a trust building stepping stone, right? If
Yes.
our client must know that they are confiding in you, their medical history, their private issues, their functions, their dysfunctions, you know, it's like, you know, a microscope into their life, into their brain. And really having the assurance that they can trust you with all of that is very important. So confidentiality is also very relevant in building trust, I think, you know, and you must be sensitive if you write a journal, which some people need to do to, you know, to express themselves and their situations, calming for you as well. But you must be minded if you're doing it online or if you're, you know, if you have a blog or if you're relating information, pictures to family, to friends, you must be very sensitive not to post anything, not to transfer any information that may compromise them in any way. Okay, so this is very important. You can talk about yourself, obviously, but about your clients is not recommended. Okay. Anyone else want to add
Okay, ma'am.
something
Thank you.
to the trust relationship from an experience or from thoughts and feelings? Okay. So this kind of concludes our talk for today. And I invite you to comment on other things, any other questions that you have about politics, life, death. I'm just, you know, really, we're here for you. This is our time together. And if you have an opportunity to be with each other in different formats, you know, then that's also advised. Build relationships, make friends. Very important not to feel alone. And yeah, that's it for today. Margareta, would you like to say something?
Nat, you wanted to say something?
Oh, yeah. I would like to thank you. So I also like to thank everyone for sharing. And right after today's meeting, I will send you something.
Anna,
Yeah.
so if it's possible, just before
Yeah,
that,
of
before the
course.
next step, I will just maybe say something related to today that, you know, as Sarah talk about it, this whole session, and some of you also reacted to that. That you know, the trust is the very, you know, center, the very essence of the relationship of, you know, that we all have, and of course that you will have with your client, with your patient, with the person that will take care of. And it's not something that you can, you know, just, you know, you can just have it. It's something that you build together, and it's a work. It's work on their end, and it's a work on your end, because June before mentioned bias, but you know, we all thinking in bias. We're all thinking in categories. That's just the way of our thinking. Otherwise, our brain wouldn't be able to contain and to remember all the information. So we have categories in our head of Israelis, you know, migrant workers from this country, from that country, here, there. So it's a very common and natural thing. The other thing, what we do with this, you know, how we expand this, how we, and going back to relationship, yeah, just to try to, on oneself, to be honest and open up, and then to give some time to both sides, to yourself, to your employer, and it's an ongoing work. So just be minded and good luck with that. And that, please, yeah, I'm done.
Thank you, Margarita. Right. Thank you. Thank you, Margarita. Thank you, Sarah. So like I said, right after today's meeting, I will send you some links, and tomorrow we will see you in the morning. Tomorrow morning, I won't be able to be with you tomorrow, but I will send you a link. Right. So have a lovely afternoon, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Bye. Thank you,
Thank
ma'am.
you,
So I
ma'am.
Thank you,
Thank
ma'am.
you.
I also want to mention about tomorrow meeting that it will include two parts. Yeah, one first part will be a meeting, you know, session similar to today's meeting with Sarah. And again, second part will be with a fellow caregiver from Philippines who came before you a couple years ago, and she will share her experience, and you will have opportunity also to ask the questions that you might have or want to ask, if you know somebody who went through the same experience, though she didn't come under bilateral agreement, but you know, she comes from the same place, she works in the same sector. So it's a good opportunity for you also, you know, to learn from her experience, and to ask things that might, or concern, or share concerns that you might have, and to hear her opinion or her advice on that. So yeah, that's for tomorrow. So also be ready for that, and think what would you be interested to hear. Maybe she will tell about it, but if she wants, you're more than welcome to ask.
Who will be joining us tomorrow?
Nympha.
Margot. Okay, Yofi, Nympha. Yes, she's very nice.
Thank you
Okay,
very much.
very good. Have a nice evening, everyone.
Have a nice evening.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.